Right, we've got a few clips to get into here regarding Lebanon, USA, Israel, a couple of different guests, but we'll get into it, and I'll keep my opinion short and sweet to the end of the clips.
That's all. That's the whole case of what has happened so far. Today, Donald Trump said that he's gonna, basically what he's talking about, he says Iran's military is a complete and total mess. Much of it, like their Navy and Air Force, doesn't even exist anymore. They have been completely defeated. Iran is all talk and no action. The bully of the Middle East is dead. They have taken too long to negotiate a deal that would have been great for them. Now they will have to pay the price. It means that my understanding is that there is no point of negotiating with the United States anymore. So what is your understanding? What has happened? And what do you make of what Donald Trump is talking about?
The thing is, Nima, that's what he's saying today or this morning, Washington time. It might be something completely different by the time he goes to bed tonight, and then something different altogether tomorrow morning. So I can't really put any currency. They're going to have to pay the ultimate price. And you could see him in an interview later tomorrow or something saying, well, I think we can meet with the Supreme Leader. He seems like a nice guy. Seems like a good, strong young man. You know, he'll give all of this back and forth. And Donald Trump's advocates say, this is what we love about this president. He's so unpredictable. He's not like those other presidents, those other weak leaders like Biden, who was so predictable. Trump is unpredictable, and that's what makes his enemies afraid of him, because they don't know what he's going to do next. Well, I got a newsflash for you. Donald Trump doesn't know what he's going to do next either. So that's the part that's not in Sun Tzu's Art of War, which is if you don't know what you're doing, your enemy doesn't either. And that's the problem here. And there is no strategy from the U.S. right now. They back themselves so deeply into these positions. A lot of them are based on false assumptions, premises, propaganda, and just outright lies. And they spend a lot of time managing the information space, as you know. There's also the profiteering on the back of the oil and the stock markets that's been going continuously with this administration. So, first of all, I'm going to have to say I'm not convinced. I see conflicting reports on whether Iran actually shot down this Black Hawk helicopter. The U.S. or CNN reported that it was a Shaheed drone that hit. I know Shaheed drones don't travel that fast, so how it hit a Black Hawk helicopter, I'm not sure. Some Iranian sources have said that they believe the helicopter crashed and wasn't necessarily hit. Now that does happen a lot, and with the amount of air sorties and missions you're flying, the odds are that there are going to be malfunctions and this is going to crash. Not to mention, in terms of maintenance and staging and things like that, any Black Hawk helicopter in the Strait of Hormuz is out of area, quite frankly.
Tells Fox News that the Iranian drone lodged in between the two pilots in this helicopter. They were flying very low. And at that point, the drone didn't explode as it had intended to. And so these pilots were trying to take down the helicopter with the drone lodged into this gunship without it exploding. And at any moment, it could have exploded, the president told me. And he said it was on fire. There was a lot of heat inside the cockpit of this helicopter. And ultimately, these two pilots were able to take it down into the sea, where ultimately they were rescued for the first time in U.S. military history by an unmanned sea drone.
Okay, let me show you an AH-64 here. All right, this is an AH-64 helicopter. Now you see there's one pilot. I think it's the weapons guys in the front, and then the other pilot is in the back. Sorry, I got that off there. So they're all over each other's shoulder. You can see a shoulder right there. There is no way that a drone can hit inside one of these glass containers, any of them. And the only way it could be is in the side, because he may think they're side by side, but you see that they're actually front to back. So the only possible way would be if a drone lodged in one of the windows here or the other two on the other side, got in between, and then somehow the aircraft we're expected to believe that it was able to land. It didn't blow up, but there was fire and smoke everywhere. And then they got out the doors. But I don't know how that's supposed to be capable, because if there's a drone popped in here, you're not going to be able to get out this door unless it's on the other side. And if it was in this window here in the top, then obviously it's not between them. Or I guess it could be theoretically poking down here. But then that gets back to what the claim was that it was a Shaheed drone. And let me show you a Shaheed drone while you're looking at that one. Continue to talk, Larry. Let me tell you what you think of that as I pull up the Shaheed drone.
Well, I've got a friend. He flew helicopters in Vietnam, and in his very last mission, he had to land, and he was flying, a Huey. There was a Green Beret team that was caught. They were trapped. They were surrounded, and he landed in the midst of this fight. And they all it was a group of about 8 guys that piled into the helicopter. And as he was taking off, one of the North Vietnamese shot an RPG round that did come through the nose, and it stuck in the battery case. And so he had to fly for about 10 minutes with a live round in the helicopter. That's possible. A drone? I mean, I think what happened, the one possible explanation is this Apache was doing with the armed reconnaissance, located a drone, fired at the drone, and the explosion of that went off close enough to the helicopter that the engines caught fragments. And so the engines got fouled, and it was in the result of those engines getting fouled from the debris of the exploding drone that's what brought the helicopter down. That's why they were able to actually maintain rotation and get down to the water because otherwise, if the engines had been shut off, that helicopter would have dropped like a rock and they'd be dead, unless they were just flying 50 feet above the water, which I don't think is the case. That explanation, because actually to get out of that helicopter, out of that Apache, my understanding, they've got a canopy above them. That canopy's got to come off, and they sort of climb up and out. There's not a door that swings open on the side. So they fabricated a story. Yeah, that drone, the Shaheed there, it's the size of the cockpit. I mean, the whole cockpit. There's no way it could get in between them and just sit there like a ticking time bomb. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I got these a couple here to pull up. So I'm going to show this in context. So you see, this is this Shaheed drone there. So you see how big it is. So if these are the size of 2 pilots that you can see there, the guys who were standing right next to it. And then here is the AH-64 from a different angle here. And as you're talking about this cockpit has to rise up, go upwards. So there's no side door to get out. So almost any version of anything, quote, in the cockpit window makes it nearly physically impossible to
Trump thinks it was a paper airplane or something, man. He's crazy. The bloke is crazy.
have escaped. So the story can't be true.
Right.
In terms of, and then again, look back at this. Now imagine this embedded in this. How's that even possible? It can't hang in there. It can't lodge in there as big as this thing is. It would just destroy the helicopter if it hit it. There's no scenario that this is the drone that they talked about, is going to hit this and it not just blasted out of the sky, whether the warhead goes off or not. So that's our entry level into here, is that the amount of fabrication and just, I don't even know, just fantasy, just fiction, making it sound even more impressive than it was. And for the first time in history, a drone boat comes and rescues these guys. I mean, we just want to make everything sound so fantastic, but unfortunately, how can we believe a word that comes out of anybody's mouth after they say this?
But this is the thing. People who watch Fox News will believe it. Like, oh, did you hear what Trump did? Mate, that drone's bigger than the whole cockpit. Trump thinks it was a paper aeroplane. Like, how, where? Yeah. Come on, man. People need to wake up, like. But we'll get back to Nima and Patrick. And I think Patrick is actually more on to the truth of what happened. Like, obviously, that report there with Dan Davis and Larry Johnson, former CIA, that's just very recent. So, obviously, Patrick wouldn't have been aware of the specifics, but Patrick knows his stuff, like, but this is more what I think happened.
That means it's a false flag by definition. Because if it crashed and then they're using it to claim it was shot down and then using that as a pretext for escalation, that by definition is a false flag. The United States using their own military assets and crashing or whatever. In no way is it proportional response by the U.S. They claim that the pilots were rescued. Now, were the pilots rescued or not? We don't know. Are they ever going to be named? Probably not. Like the Isfahan failed raid to grab the nuclear dust. Where's Private Ryan? Private Ryan doesn't have a name. Still, he should be a hero. It should be a Hollywood blockbuster film about his daring rescue. You know, the daring rescue of this airman in Iran. So what can we believe from the U.S.? Nothing. It doesn't make any sense at all. And even if it was true, the Strait of Hormuz is not an area to patrol. It's not international waters. That is Omani and Iranian territory. Full stop. The U.S. has no business and no right to be, flying Black Hawk helicopters around, enforcing a naval blockade there. And they're already using U.S. aircraft to fire at empty tankers, ships they claim are sanctioned. This is just outright piracy and just kind of international racketeering. That's the best way to describe what they're doing. So they're caught in this situation that they absolutely can't back out of, and there's only going to be more and more triggers for escalation. So you could just have this long-running, relatively low intensity conflict to save face, to be involved, not to get things too escalating with Iran, but just enough to justify a U.S. presence and give time for the rearmament of Israel and the U.S. of what positions they do have left in the region. So that's one way of looking at it. The other way is if there is a massive escalation, which, like, if you took Trump's word of what the threat he issued just recently, that Iran's going to pay the price, well, how long can the U.S. sustain a major barrage at Iran? 2 weeks max. 2 weeks max.
And that's it, like, because I haven't got the ammunition. But in the world of MAGA, they lap this up, like, just like the Hasbara, they just lap it up. Crazy. But I thought I'd just share that, like, but that's it for this one.